Hi, namaste, vanakkam. Thanks for having me here, and good evening, everyone. So, I hope all of you can hear me. Yeah. So, the most important thing is that in India, I mean, the geographical locations which we refer as present and past India uh, always accommodated diverse, SOGIAC identities, that is, diverse sexual orientation, gender identity expression, sex characteristics, etc. So these diverse SOGIAC identities had their own indigenous terminologies, and region to region, from Tamil Nadu to Karnataka to the Northeast to the Kashmir to many parts of even Southeast Asia region. We share a lot of cultural similarities. These indigenous gender specific traditions and culture have their roots to mainland India for a long time, and even before the term LGBTQ, we have native terminologies. I mean, before America was colonized, uh, you know, uh, they had more than 8 to 10 gender identities. When America was colonized, everything becomes so heteronormative and binary. Even God becomes so masculine. You know, so there are a lot of problematic issues with that. Mm, we always have a problem with Eurocentric approach. While we appreciate certain values or in the Eurocentric approach, we don't completely accept Eurocentric approach or the American approach on several issues. Um, so we have been seeing the way they are dominating the world and trying to destabilize a lot of things. On the other hand, we have communism, Maoism, Leninism, and all these isms put together. So none of this has nothing to do with devotion or spirituality or God or anything. So I personally believe that only a practicing, a Christian or a Hindu or a Muslim or any religious person who believe in God, who is spiritual, uh, you know, uh, can talk about God because when communist atheists or Leninists talk about all these issues in the name of intersectional activism, we face a lot of challenges and problem. We need religion, we need God. Um, Let it be any religion, let it be any God, but we need God and religion because that is a blessing for humanity that brings a whole lot of masses together, and one of the most the God and the concept around it should be more inclusive. And it is inclusive. God is inclusive, but people who are worshiping God not. So one of the most important issues is that um, you know church as an institute, when somebody talks about church, the very first thing I remember is that it's a care based or compassion based institution where people can get compassion and care, etc. So what we lack in the present day is compassion and care. Just because of a person's sexual orientation, gender identity, sex characteristics, they should not be, pulled down, pushed into darkness, where they, lead a life without any religion, without any God, living in darkness. It is highly problematic because in human life we need you know some anchor, something to hold on, right? And when it comes to God, it is not merely materialistic, right? So everybody need to have that personal relationship with God, and religion not as a kind of a biased institution, but as a larger inclusive social movement can help a lot of vulnerable groups to to be part of um, the mainstream society. I mean, just because my friend Swapna was a trans woman, she was not allowed to appear for civil service examination. We challenged it. Now Swapna is the first transgender gazetted officer in India, serving as assistant commissioner for commercial tax department in Tamil Nadu. I'm the first intersex person to, hold a public office with a joint secretary level position with the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. So it was not an easy thing for us to achieve. I mean, a lot of people like you supported us, stood by us. So that's more important. And we are also seeing, you know, in the name of intersectional activism, a lot of radical elements are penetrating deep in these communities, which are manipulating the narratives and histories of this community. Some of the radical groups are closely associated with several extremist groups, which is highly problematic. When I mean certain words like extremist or all these words, one of the reasons I'm mentioning is that the huge economy around this community, which we call as rainbow economy, the it's vast. It's multi-trillion dollar economy, and the way these people are exploited, uh, it's not okay. We have more than 3 dozen gay dating apps at list, in the world, and especially in India, we are using at least more than half a dozen popular apps. And all these apps, Europe competes with America, and China is competing now. They have their own dating apps for this community members. So they get all the information through the apps, no privacy, nothing. Indian government don't have any rules and regulation to regulate them. The point I'm trying to mention is that, in some apps, we see that, 16, 17 years old children holding a placard saying, proud to be a porn star. This is not the, freedom or we are advocating for. We are advocating for accountability. We are advocating for, dignity. We are advocating for, a space in a church or religious space where, we will be also included as part of you as you. So nothing else. So we don't need Marxism, communism, Leninism, which killed more than 13 crore people in this past century, to talk about Christ. And Christ is not a communist, neither European nor Nadar, Chettiar, Naidu, Brahmin, and male, female, etc., etc. So, like Christ is beyond all expandable list of identities. I mean, the point I'm trying to convey is that when we talk about God, let we include people who are talking about God, not somebody, who talk merely about the identity. Because my focus here is my sexual orientation, my gender identity is one important aspect of my life, but that is not all about my life. So I believe when, in your theological institutions, when you teach about sex, gender, and sexual orientation, it should not have an American approach. When America didn't allow women to vote, we had women prime minister. It doesn't mean that we never had female infanticide during that time when Indira Gandhi was prime minister. So, I mean, for not for everything we need to look up to America or Europe. We have our own narratives. We have our own movement. Let me write it. Let me have it. We don't need to follow them. I mean, like, even having rainbow flag, I don't know how many, community members, individuals do it. So we always look at people who have community for themselves. What about those people who don't have a community for themselves? So I'm talking about those individuals who don't have a community for themselves. How your teachings or values or your actions can bring these people together and form a community. That's something very important. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Namaste.